The old quarry sat at the edge of a wide valley, far from the busy roads and towns. People in the nearby village could see the high stone walls from a distance, like a dark cut in the land. For 50 years, the quarry had been closed. A rusted fence surrounded it. Old warning boards leaned sideways, faded by sun and rain. Wild grass covered the road that once carried heavy trucks. Even on bright days, the place looked cold. Most villagers avoided it. They did not like to talk about why it was shut down. Some said there had been a serious problem. Others said the owners ran out of money. A few older people said the quarry had become unsafe, and that was why everyone left quickly. Nobody had a clear story. Over time, the quarry turned into a quiet mystery, and the mystery turned into fear. Now the fear did not matter to the company that bought the land. A new mining company had studied the area and found valuable stone under the old site. They got permits. They made plans. They promised jobs and better roads. They told the local officials that reopening the quarry would help the region. Some villagers were happy, because jobs were hard to find. Others felt nervous. They believed some places were better left alone. On a gray morning, a small crew arrived to reopen the quarry. They brought trucks, tools, lights, and safety gear. The air was cool. Clouds hung low over the valley. The quarry looked like it was waiting. The team leader was a man named Arun. He was in his early 40s. He had worked in mines and stone sites for many years. Arun did not believe in rumors. He believed in facts. He believed that most strange stories had simple reasons. If a place was closed, there was usually a clear explanation: money, safety rules, or damage to the structure. Arun stood near the main gate and studied it. The gate was made of thick metal bars. It was partly buried in dirt and weeds. The lock was large. He narrowed his eyes. The lock looked too new for something untouched for 50 years. "That lock is not old," Arun said, speaking to the crew. A young worker named Malik stood nearby. Malik was new to this kind of work. He was strong and quick, but he still listened carefully to older workers. He adjusted his helmet and looked toward the dark opening behind the gate. "My uncle lives in the village," Malik said quietly. "He told me people stayed away because the quarry was strange." Arun gave a small shrug. People always say strange things about abandoned places. They do not like empty buildings or deep holes. Fear grows when there are no answers. Malik nodded, but he still looked uneasy. He did not like the way the quarry seemed to swallow sound. Even the birds were quiet near it. 2 workers began cutting the chain. Sparks flew as the tool bit into metal. The sound bounced off stone walls and came back sharp and loud. It felt like they were making noise in a place that demanded silence. After several minutes, the chain finally snapped. The gate creaked as they pushed it open. A cold breath of air came out from inside the quarry, strong enough to make Malik step back. "That air feels like a basement," Malik said. Arun took a slow breath. The air smelled of damp stone and old metal. It was not the smell he expected from an open quarry. It smelled closed, like a room that had been shut for a long time. They turned on their lights and stepped inside. The first area was a wide tunnel leading into the underground sections. Old rails ran along the floor, once used for carts. Dust covered everything. A broken cart sat on the track, its wheels locked in place. Tools lay scattered, frozen in time. A metal lunchbox sat near a wall, its lid partly open. It looked like someone had meant to come back for it. "It's like they left in a hurry," said a worker named Rafi. Rafi was careful and serious. He had experience with old sites and knew what normal closure looked like. Usually, equipment was removed. Tools were collected. Signs were posted. This place did not look like that. Arun walked forward, shining his light along the walls. The stone was cut clean in many places, but there were marks that did not look like normal mining cuts. In some areas, the stone looked dark, almost burned. Arun frowned. Heat marks were not common in a quarry. He touched the wall with his glove. The stone felt cold. Maybe old machines overheated, Arun said, though he did not fully believe it. The crew moved deeper, following the main tunnel. Their lights made long shadows. Water dripped somewhere in the distance. Each drop sounded loud in the quiet. After a while, the tunnel opened into a large underground chamber. The ceiling was high. The space was wider than Arun expected. He had seen the maps and old records. They did not show a room this big. Arun stopped and looked around. This chamber should not be here, he said. Rafi checked the printed plan in his hand. It's not on the plan, he replied. Malik swallowed. Then who made it? No one answered right away. Their lights swept across the walls. Then Rafi's beam landed on something carved into stone. He held his light steady. Sir, Rafi said. Look at that. Arun stepped closer. On the far wall, deep lines were carved into the stone. They formed shapes and curves that did not look like numbers or normal signs. Some lines crossed each other. Some made circles. The carving was rough in parts, like it was done quickly. A few sections were scratched as if someone tried to remove them later. Malik stared at it. Is that a warning? He asked. Arun kept his voice calm. It could be old markings. Sometimes workers leave signs for directions or hazards. Rafi shook his head slightly. These are not like any markings I have seen. Arun did not reply. He only looked. The symbols made him feel uncomfortable, though he did not want to admit it. The quarry was supposed to be a simple job: reopen, check safety, start clearing. Yet the place felt like it was hiding something. They continued. The ground began to slope downward. The air grew heavier. Their lights flickered once, then steadied. Malik noticed it and held his breath. After a short walk, they reached a section where the tunnel ended at a concrete wall. The wall looked smooth and strong, like it was built carefully. Arun stepped closer, surprised. This is not old, he said. The concrete was not cracked. It did not have 50 years of wear. It looked much newer, maybe made within the last 20 years. That detail changed everything. In the center of the wall was a thick metal door. It was reinforced with bolts. A faded red symbol was painted on it. Time had worn it down, but it was still visible. Rafi looked at the door and then at Arun. This door is not on the plan, he said again. Arun felt his stomach tighten. If the door was new, then someone had come back to this quarry long after it was closed. Someone built this wall. Someone sealed this door. Malik whispered. Why would anyone seal a door in an abandoned quarry? Arun lifted his hand and touched the metal. It was cold, almost too cold. He pulled his hand back quickly. Everyone stay alert, Arun said. We don't open anything yet. First we report this. Rafi nodded. Malik took a step back. Then a low vibration rolled through the ground. It was soft at first, like a distant rumble. But it was enough to make dust fall from a crack in the ceiling. The crew froze. The sound did not come from above. It felt like it came from deep behind the wall, from the dark space beyond the metal door. Malik's eyes widened. Did you feel that? He asked. Arun stared at the door, his mind racing. The quarry had been silent for 50 years. The village believed it was dead. But now, standing in front of that sealed door, Arun understood one thing clearly. Whatever was behind that door was not just an old room. It was something someone wanted hidden. And the quarry, waking up after half a century, was starting to speak again. The ground became still again, but the feeling did not leave. Dust floated slowly in the light beams, moving like tiny ghosts. No one spoke for a moment. Each worker listened to their own breath and the faint drip of water somewhere far away. Arun was the first to move. He raised his hand and signaled the crew to step back from the door. His face stayed calm, but his thoughts were fast and sharp. That vibration could be nothing, he said. Old rock shifts sometimes. Malik nodded, but his eyes stayed on the metal door. It felt close, he said. Like it came from right behind it. Rafi knelt and placed his palm on the concrete wall. He stayed still, listening. No more movement, he said after a moment. But this wall was built to last. Someone wanted this sealed. Arun took a slow breath. We do this the right way. We document everything. We send photos and notes. No one opens anything without approval. The crew agreed. They were workers, not explorers. Still, curiosity pulled at them. The door sat in the center of the wall like a secret with weight. The faded red symbol looked simple, but it carried meaning. It was not random paint. They took photos from different angles. Rafi marked the location on the map with a thick pen. Malik recorded a short report on the device, his voice steady but careful. As they turned back toward the main chamber, Malik stopped. Sir, he said. There is another tunnel. Arun turned. On the right side of the chamber, partly hidden behind a pile of fallen stone, was a narrow opening. It looked older than the sealed wall. The edges were rough, not finished like the main tunnel. This one is on the plan, Rafi said after checking. But it is marked unsafe. Arun studied the opening. The air flowing from it felt colder than the rest. We do a short check, he said. No deep entry. We stay together. They moved slowly into the narrow tunnel. The ceiling dropped lower. The walls felt closer. Their lights revealed old drill marks and cracked stone. The floor was uneven, with shallow pits filled with water. As they walked, Malik noticed something on the wall. There are more carvings, he said. The symbols appeared again, smaller this time. Some were scratched deep. Others looked rushed. Unlike the earlier wall, these carvings followed the tunnel, spaced every few steps. Rafi frowned. These are not direction signs. They repeat. Arun felt a chill. Repeating symbols usually mean a warning. They continued until the tunnel opened into a small room. It looked like a storage area. Old wooden crates were stacked along one wall. Most had rotted, but one near the center looked stronger. Malik approached it carefully. This crate is sealed, he said. Arun nodded. Do not open it. Rafi pointed his light at the crate's side. A date was stamped into the wood. It was from long after the quarry was closed. That means someone used this room later, Rafi said. Arun crossed his arms. So someone came back. Built a wall. Sealed a door. Stored something here. Then left again. Malik looked uneasy. Why hide things in a quarry? Arun did not answer. He was thinking of the lock at the gate, the fresh concrete, the symbols, the vibration. None of it fit a simple story. They turned to leave the room. As they did, Malik heard a faint sound. He stopped. Do you hear that? He asked. Arun listened. At first, there was nothing. Then a low hum, barely there. It was not loud. It was steady. Rafi checked his device. It is not from our equipment. The hum seemed to come from the direction of the sealed wall, even though they were some distance away. It was soft but constant, like a machine running far underground. Arun made a decision. We leave the quarry for now, he said. All of us. We report everything today. No one argued. They returned through the chamber and back into the main tunnel. The silence followed them. When they reached the entrance, daylight felt brighter than before. The air outside felt warm and alive. They stepped out and closed the gate temporarily with a temporary barrier. Arun stood back and looked at the quarry from the outside. It looked peaceful again, almost harmless. But he knew better now. Later that day, Arun met with company officials at a temporary office near the site. He laid out the photos, maps, and reports. He spoke clearly and without emotion. There is a sealed structure inside, he said. It was built years after the quarry closed. There are unknown symbols and signs of recent activity compared to the closure date. There was also a vibration and a sound source we could not identify. The officials exchanged looks. One of them, a man named Dev, leaned forward. "Are you saying the site is unsafe?" "I am saying it is unknown," Arun replied. "And unknown sites carry risk." Dev nodded slowly. "We will send a review team." That night, Malik could not sleep. He lived in a small room near the village. The wind outside moved through trees. Each sound reminded him of the hum he heard underground. The next morning, the review team arrived. They brought advanced tools and more lights. Arun guided them back inside. Malik stayed with the group, his eyes sharp. When they reached the sealed wall, the team leader studied it closely. "This is well made," he said. "Not rushed. Not weak." They used devices to scan behind the wall. Lines appeared on a screen. "There is a large empty space behind it," the leader said. "Bigger than the chamber we saw earlier." Arun felt his chest tighten. "So there is a hidden section." "Yes," the leader said. "And there appears to be a power source. That explains the hum." Malik spoke up. "A power source still running after all this time?" The leader nodded. "That is what it looks like." Silence filled the chamber again. Dev's voice came through the radio. "Proceed carefully," he said. "But we need answers." The leader turned to Arun. "We may need to open the door." Arun hesitated. He looked at the symbols, the bolts, the cold metal. Every part of him said this door was closed for a reason. "Not today," Arun said. "We secure the area. We bring specialists. Whatever is behind this door has waited 50 years. It can wait longer." As they backed away, the hum grew slightly stronger. It was still soft, but now it was clear. It followed them like a reminder. The quarry was not empty. It was active. And the longer they waited, the more Arun feared that whatever was hidden inside was not meant to be found by accident. The quarry was closed again the next day. A stronger fence was built around it. Guards were placed at the entrance. From the outside, it looked calm, like a place sleeping once more. But inside, deep under the stone, something was still working. Arun stayed near the site. He could not leave. The sealed door and the hidden space behind it stayed in his mind. He reviewed the photos again and again. The symbols. The fresh concrete. The power source still running after so many years. None of it matched normal mining work. A special team arrived 2 days later. They were not miners. They were experts in underground structures and old industrial projects. Their leader was a quiet man named Nalin. He spoke little and observed a lot. Nalin studied the quarry plans first. "These records are incomplete," he said. "Someone removed sections." Arun nodded. "That is what I feared." They entered the quarry together with careful steps. Lights turned on. Devices hummed softly. Malik followed behind, helping carry equipment. He tried to stay calm, but the deeper they went, the heavier his chest felt. When they reached the sealed wall, Nalin stopped. He ran his hand along the concrete, feeling its texture. "This was built with care," Nalin said. "And with fear." Malik looked at him. "Fear of what?" Nalin did not answer right away. He pointed to the symbols. "These are not decoration. They are warnings. Not to keep people out. To keep something in." The words hung in the air. Arun felt a chill. "You believe something is contained behind this door?" "Yes," Nalin replied. "And it is not just empty space." The team placed sensors along the wall. Lines and numbers appeared on screens. The readings showed movement of energy, slow but steady. "It is stable," one expert said. "But old." "How old?" Arun asked. The expert checked again. "The system behind the wall has been running for decades. At least 40 years. Malik's voice shook slightly. Why would anyone build something like that in a quarry? Nalin answered quietly. Because quarries are deep, remote, easy to hide. The decision was made. They would open the door, but only a small amount. Enough to see what was inside without fully breaking the seal. The team prepared carefully. Safety gear was checked twice. A metal cutting tool was placed against the bolts. Arun stood back, watching. His heart beat hard, though his face stayed calm. He felt like they were standing at the edge of a story that was never meant to be finished. The tool began to cut. The sound echoed through the chamber. Sparks fell to the ground. Slowly, the first bolt came loose. Then the second. Then the third. As the final bolt fell, the hum behind the wall grew louder. Not sharp. Not angry. Just present. The door moved slightly inward. A thin stream of cold air flowed out, carrying a smell unlike stone or dust. It smelled clean, almost sterile. Nalin raised his hand. "Stop," he said. They waited. Nothing rushed out. Nothing moved. Only the hum continued. Slowly, they pushed the door open just enough to shine a light inside. What they saw made everyone silent. Behind the door was a wide underground hall, smooth and carefully built. The walls were lined with metal panels. Thick cables ran along the floor and ceiling. Large machines stood in rows, silent but powered. "This is not mining equipment," Rafi said quietly. Nalin nodded. "This is a facility." Malik stared. "Who built it?" Arun looked at the machines. "And why here?" They stepped inside carefully. The floor was clean, almost untouched by dust. Lights flickered on as they entered, responding to movement. "That means it still works," Malik whispered. At the center of the hall stood a tall structure, shaped like a pillar. Symbols were carved into its base. The same symbols seen throughout the quarry. Nalin studied it closely. "This structure is the core," he said. "Everything connects to it." Arun felt a deep unease. Core of what? Before Nalin could answer, one of the experts checked a monitor. His face went pale. "There is a recorded message," he said. "It is stored in the system." "Play it," Arun said. The device activated. A calm voice filled the hall. It sounded old but clear. "This site was sealed to protect others," the voice said. "What is contained here must not be moved or shut down." Malik felt his throat go dry. The message continued. "The energy source is stable only when isolated. Exposure may cause severe consequences." Arun clenched his fists. "Energy source," he repeated. "What kind?" The message paused, then continued. "This structure was built to contain a reaction we could not stop. It is not alive. It is not a weapon. It is a process." Nalin spoke softly. "A process that cannot be stopped." The voice went on. "We chose this location because it was deep and forgotten. If you are hearing this, the seal has been broken. Proceed with caution. Do not remove the core." The message ended. Silence followed. Malik looked around the hall. "So this thing has been running for 50 years. "Yes," Nalin said. "And it was meant to." Arun walked closer to the pillar. He did not touch it. He only looked. The hum seemed to come from it, steady and calm. "What happens if it stops?" Malik asked. Nalin met his eyes. "That is the question the builders did not answer." Arun took a deep breath. "We secure this area again. We report everything to higher authorities. This is beyond a mining company." The team agreed. As they prepared to leave, Arun looked back at the core. The symbols seemed almost clearer in the light. Not threatening. Not welcoming. Just warning. The quarry was not hiding a monster. It was hiding a responsibility. And now that responsibility had been uncovered. The land above was quiet. The village continued its daily life. People walked, talked, and worked, unaware of what lay beneath their feet. But Arun knew one thing for certain. The quarry was no longer just an old site. It was a place holding something that could not be ignored. And the next decision would change everything. By the end of the third day, the quarry was no longer under company control. Officials arrived from the capital. They wore plain clothes and carried serious faces. No names were shared openly. Orders were given quietly. The area was sealed again, stronger than before. Arun stood near the entrance as vehicles rolled in and out. He felt both relief and worry. Relief because the responsibility was no longer his alone. Worry because once powerful people arrived, simple answers often disappeared. Malik stayed close to Arun. He had been allowed to help because he knew the tunnels well. Still, his hands shook slightly as he carried equipment. "You think they will shut it down?" Malik asked. Arun looked toward the valley. "I do not know," he said. "Some things cannot be shut down easily." Inside the quarry, the underground hall was filled with quiet movement. Experts studied machines. Screens glowed softly. The core continued its steady hum. Nalin stood near the pillar, speaking with two officials. Their voices were low but tense. "This system was designed to stay active," Nalin said. "Stopping it without full knowledge could cause damage far beyond this site." One official crossed his arms. "Damage how?" Nalin paused. "Energy release. Structural failure. Possible effects on the surrounding land." The officials exchanged looks. One of them sighed. "So we cannot stop it." "We should not," Nalin replied. "Not until we understand it fully." Arun was called forward. "You found this first," one official said. "Tell us your opinion." Arun chose his words carefully. "This place was sealed for a reason. Whoever built this knew the risk. They left warnings. I believe reopening it without care would be a mistake." The official nodded slowly. "Then our task is to protect it and the people above." The village nearby soon noticed the changes. More guards. Fewer answers. Roads closed. Rumors spread quickly. Some villagers believed the quarry held valuable technology. Others believed it was dangerous. A few believed both. An old man in the village spoke quietly to Malik one evening. "The land remembers," he said. "When something is buried, it stays buried for a reason." Malik thought of the core humming below. "What if it cannot stay buried anymore?" he asked. The old man did not answer. Days passed. Research continued. Data was collected. The machines were studied but not touched. The core stayed stable. One night, alarms sounded softly inside the underground hall. Not loud. Not urgent. But new. Nalin was called immediately. Arun and Malik followed. A screen showed rising energy levels. Slow but steady. "It is increasing," an expert said. "Not dangerous yet, but higher than before." "Why?" Arun asked. "We do not know," the expert replied. "The system may be reacting to exposure." Nalin frowned. The door opening may have changed internal balance. Malik swallowed. "So even finding it caused a problem?" "Yes," Nalin said. "That was always the risk." A meeting was held at once. Officials listened as experts explained the situation. "The core cannot be shut down," one expert said. "But it may need reinforcement." "Meaning?" an official asked. "Meaning the seal must be restored. Stronger than before." Arun felt a strange sadness. The truth had been found, but now it needed to be hidden again. "Will people know?" Malik asked quietly. Nalin shook his head. "Not everything can be shared. Panic helps no one." Work began immediately. New materials were brought in. The door was closed again, this time with advanced locks. The concrete wall was reinforced. Sensors were placed to monitor the system from outside. Before the final seal, Arun stood alone in the hall. He looked at the core one last time. "You have been here a long time," he said softly. "I hope we did the right thing." The hum stayed steady. The wall was sealed. The door disappeared behind layers of concrete. The quarry returned to silence. Above ground, officials announced that the site was unstable and would remain closed permanently. No details were shared. The company withdrew. Guards stayed. Life slowly returned to normal in the village. Jobs did not come. But neither did disaster. Weeks later, Arun prepared to leave the site. Malik stood with him at the gate. "You think it will stay quiet?" Malik asked. Arun looked back at the valley. "I think it will," he said. "As long as no one forgets it is there." As they drove away, the quarry looked just like it had before. Old. Silent. Forgotten. But deep beneath the stone, the core continued its work. Waiting. One final decision remained. And that decision would decide how long the secret could sleep. Months passed after the quarry was sealed again. The valley returned to its quiet routine. Grass grew taller along the old road. The guards were reduced to a small team. Most people believed the story they were told, that the ground was unstable and dangerous for work. Slowly, interest faded. But Arun did not forget. He had returned to his normal job in another region, yet the quarry stayed in his thoughts. Some nights, he dreamed of stone walls and low humming sounds. Not loud. Not threatening. Just steady and patient. Malik also moved on. He found work in a nearby town. Life became busy again. Still, whenever he passed hills or old tunnels, he remembered the symbols carved in stone and the warning message stored deep underground. One evening, months later, Arun received a call. It was from Nalin. "The system is stable," Nalin said. "But something has changed." Arun sat upright. "What kind of change?" "The energy levels have stopped rising," Nalin replied. "They have leveled out." "That sounds good," Arun said. "Yes," Nalin answered. "But it means the core has adapted." Arun stayed quiet. Nalin continued. "It no longer reacts to the seal. It no longer reacts to monitoring. It has found balance again." Arun felt both relief and worry. "So it will stay that way?" "As long as it is left alone," Nalin said. "The system was never meant to grow. It was meant to last." A few weeks later, a final inspection was done. Arun was invited to attend. He agreed. Standing once more near the quarry gate, Arun felt the same cold air brush his face. But this time, there was no fear. Only respect. The sensors showed normal readings. The reinforced wall held strong. No vibration. No hum detected from outside. "It is sleeping," one expert said. Nalin shook his head gently. "Not sleeping. Working quietly." Arun nodded. He understood now. Some systems were built not to end, but to continue. They were not mistakes. They were choices made by people facing problems bigger than themselves. Before leaving, Arun placed his hand on the stone wall near the entrance. It felt solid. Silent. "Stay hidden," he whispered. Years passed. The quarry faded into memory again. New stories replaced old ones. Children grew up without knowing what lay beneath their feet. The valley remained peaceful. Arun retired from field work. Malik started a family. Life moved forward, as it always did. Far below the surface, the core continued its steady process. Balanced. Isolated. Controlled. The builders who created it were gone. Their warnings remained. Their choice had held. The quarry did not shock the world. It protected it. And sometimes, the greatest discoveries were not meant to be shared. They were meant to be sealed. Forever.